The next item we're going to look at is what's called the Service Difficulty Reporting System. And this is through the FAA. And so this is if we find for reliability tracking purposes and for safety tracking purposes. So there's a couple ways we can find this. I'm going to zoom out here, make it smaller. There we go. So a couple things. So first off, if you are familiar with SDRS, it's actually a separate website. So if you do sdrs.faa.gov, it will bring up the SDRS, Service Difficulty Reporting System. And it's basically telling you it's an official site, so don't screw around with it. But it kind of gives you its voluntary submissions, general aviation, if you notice any kind of malfunction or defect. So this is the kind of thing, these kind of reports can be used to, when they're used to see like, hey, have you seen something before? You can search it as a maintainer to see like you got this thing that came up and you're trying to figure out, is this a common problem that there's already a fix, right? Maybe a service bulletin hasn't been issued, but if enough SDRS reports have been issued, then they might issue a service bulletin or even an AD, okay? Or you can report it. Now, we don't want to actually report anything. So they do have an electronic form on here. You can create a defect report by clicking on here, but if you do, please don't actually submit this, okay? So this same form though, and that's part of the paperwork production, you can submit it, electronically here. There is also a paper form that goes along with it. So you can always send in a paper form as well if you don't want to use the website. Now, I showed you the direct link. Another option, if I just go to faa.gov and you're trying to find this, if you can't remember, that it's sdrs.faa.gov, if you just type in service difficulty, excuse me, service difficulty reporting system, it will, it gives you the kind of the information about it. There's an AC that deals with it, okay? And I believe, it has the link inside of it right there. So it has that sdrs.fa.gov. And this talks about, what the program is, why why it exists, what the objective is, and kind of tells you more about it. But the biggest thing there is it shows you the website and, and how to do it. Now, before the website, everyone did it on a paper form. The form you use down here at the bottom, it has FAA forms, is the 8010-4, and you can still access the 8010-form, and so that's what we're going to use for today. So if we do FAA.gov and you just type in 8010-4, or you can go to forms in 8010-4, it should pull it up. Why is it pulling up for me? Pulled it up yesterday for me. Did I do something different? Yeah, this was one of the new sections. I know we have it on here as well. I thought, no, we didn't. Okay. Why is it not? Did I put form in front of it when I searched yesterday? Why does it not want to bring the form up? Okay, let's just do this. Trying to remember the search term I used yesterday to bring it up. I thought I just put in 8010. Let me just try the service difficulty reporting system. was the link in here. Maybe that was it. I just pulled it up yesterday. And
I just typed in FA 8010-4 and it popped up.
yeah, I hit it.
Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm trying to remember how I found it yesterday, which route I went. Did you just use a Google search?
I just Googled FAA.
Yeah, and I know that'll work, but I know they buried it because they're trying to push you to. Yeah, it is in the forms area. I don't know why it was being such a pain. I guess I didn't go into the actual forms thing. So if you go into the forms, in the forms thing, you can still look it up there. They really are trying to push people though to use the electronic database because then they don't have to basically pay somebody to copy your form into the database. So, but because I don't want you actually submitting an electronic copy, we're going to do this version. So when you download it, it looks like this. And I've got a copy already saved on my computer, so I can pull that up to go. I thought I did. Where did I put it? Oh, that's right. It's in the... Oh, I don't have my blank. What did I do with my blank one? Okay. Well, I guess I got to download a new one. I filled it in. I'm going to save it there. I ended up filling it in. Okay. So if I open it up, it gives me this malfunction or defect. And again, it doesn't have to be, it can be a malfunction or a defect. Okay. And so we can start filling in, the items that we're going to do. Now, if we look at our scenario here, we're on aircraft N54DN. Okay. And with our engine, this is one of the Cirrus. This is an IO360ES, our serial number, time since overhaul. Okay. And while performing a 100-hour inspection, slivers of brass were found on the oil screen, which ended up being the #1 connecting rod bushing, the connecting rod bushing for the #1 cylinder. So they took some images to show you that. So here, where is our first thing? You can fill out these top portions if you know. So operation control number, that'll be the FAA. If you know an ATA code, you can start putting it in there, but they actually have they tend to put that in. But for the aircraft serial number, our aircraft, they want to know which aircraft it was found under. So N54 Delta November, and since the N's there, all you got to type is 54 Delta November. And this is one of our Cirrus, and it's the SR20s. And our serial number, so this is the engine serial number. We need the aircraft serial number. So again, if we don't have the aircraft serial number, how can we find that? Remember, if it's a currently registered aircraft, we can go to FAA.gov. And I can put in an N number search, N54 Delta November. And you can see our aircraft serial number is 1671. So that would go in the first part there. Now the power plant is the one that's here. The IO360 is a Continental. It's an IO360-Echo Sierra. And our serial number for that is 1040610. Okay. If it was propeller related, we would want to put the propeller. So if it's airframe related, you don't necessarily have to put the engine information in. If it's propeller related, you would probably still want to put engine information, and then you would put the propeller information. If it's just an airframe item, you could just do the airframe part. you're going to want to fill in that airframe part no matter what, because that's how they're going to help track like which aircraft, it was on. And so pretty much no matter what, the aircraft has to be filled in. Power plant, propeller, you'll fill in depending on what it was. Okay. And then, so some things you're going to fill in whatever information you can. So if it's a specific part, if we know the part, like here we know it as a bushing for a connecting rod, we could put it in the part. If it's more of an appliance or a component, say you're getting high, carbon monoxide or leaks in your heater, right? You could put that, that manufacturer, model, part number, serial number, if it's available, for that, entire component, because that way, say it's like a Janitrol heater or something like that, they would want to be able to trace it back to the manufacturer of that component in order to fix it. But for a bushing like this, it's part of the engine assembly really, and so you've already got that information. So our part name for something like this is a connecting rod bushing. Manufacturer, part number, model or part number. You can probably get like a part number from the IPC, but at the end of the day, Continental makes those. These are not a serialized component. So you can leave it blank, or some people like to put NSN for no serial number. But then the location, right? This one was found in the number 1 cylinder. Sometimes, a part like this, right? The components in different areas are going to be subject to, like in an engine, different harmonics and different stresses. And so, if it's always the number 1 bushing failing, we would want to know that, right? Because then there's obviously some kind of an issue with that bushing and that connecting rod and that crankshaft at the number 1 cylinder. Maybe that one when there's the detonation event, maybe it hits harder than the other 5 cylinders or something like that. So it's important to kind of include some of that information, but you don't have to, again, they're not a serialized component. So you wouldn't have that. The serial number is important if you have serialized components, if they're trying to find like a defect in a certain serial number range or something of that nature. So you essentially fill in as much as you can, but you may not have every detail. Down here, part total time, well, that one's been in there since overhaul. So the overhaul on the engine was 1023.6. And the part time since overhaul was, we don't really overhaul bushings, so part 1023. So part total time, part time since overhaul. Condition, at this point it's used. We didn't find it on a new part. The date that we found it, the date that we've discovered it, or that we've submitted our report, date submitted the report, we'll call it 11/18. Okay. And then, so that's our kind of our general information. And then block 8 over here is to put in a description of what we have happening. So I'm going to make this bigger. And, so what happened is when performing, we want to state when we found it, right? So how do we know? So when performing 100-hour inspection on the engine, we basically are just restating slivers of brass were found in the oil screen. Upon further inspection, it was determined that the slivers came from the connecting rod bushing for the number 1 cylinder. So basically the exact same thing as what we have in our write-up right here, okay? As in the defect that was found. Right? No different. So we could just copy paste that. Okay. And then you need to put over here is who found it. So we are a mechanic that found it. You know, because these can be filed by the FAA if they find a bunch. It can be filed by the manufacturer. It can be filed by the operator, right? We put our information here. And contact information. Now you can put in whatever you want. Oops, that's right. You gotta click. Doesn't automatically move. 964. This isn't my home number. I don't have a home number. This is my office phone. Okay. And if there was an accident or incident related to it, we'd put it down here. Now, fortunately, this one was found right during an inspection, so it didn't cause any kind of an accident or incident, so we wouldn't need to put anything there. If it's a very involved item, they give you more space down here. Now, on the website, it basically gives you all the room you need to, do your comments, but they give you this if you need more space for block 8. And that's pretty much it. The back side of this, it essentially was a postcard you would send in. So you just fold it over, send it in. You can see it's already got postage paid and whatever, because they don't want you to not send it because of that. And it goes to this alerts. Now, again, they really prefer nowadays that you do this electronically on the SDRS website. That way somebody doesn't have to take this and type it in when it gets there, when it arrives. Okay? But you're going to need to save this, and you'll want to upload this with your completed lab project as well.